Welcome to perhaps my last video on the Rtic Cooler. Mine's the Rtic 45, and I've been testing it out for basically a year. And this is my second 4-day trip with it. And in addition to everything else I've done, but my second 4-day trip, you can kind of see what I've been doing to it. Obviously, the stickers are just places I've been lately, things I've done with it. But there are 3 modifications that are non-cosmetic, and we'll talk about those briefly, and then we'll talk about how it performs. So first, you can see that on the left side there, I've got just a piece of paracord, paracord loop, and I've got a lighter leash holding a lighter. So that's kind of cool to always have your lighter handy. And back here I've got a little Kershaw folding knife and a bottle opener. So that's one. And surprisingly, when I'm driving around, I don't really hear that bang back and forth. So I'm not sure if that was pressed up against something else or whether I just don't hear it in the back of the vehicle. The other thing I've already talked about before, I have my magnetic bottle cap opener, which works great. And then last but not least, and this isn't very much of anything, but this is glow-in-the-dark tape. So the handle's always marked, and it's not so much like I wouldn't be able to find how to open it in the dark, but it's more that that might be the little reminder. Before it's late at night, maybe I've been drinking, maybe there's been some alcohol involved, and before I turn into sleep, that little bit of glowing might be the reminder I need to say, oh hey, let's put that back in the car so that animals don't get inside it. Plus it'd be kind of cool, you always know which way it's facing or whatnot, or yeah, so I marked that. Anyway, those are the 3 little changes I made. Obviously I've had some stickers, like I said, but that stuff doesn't really matter if this doesn't perform. So how's it been doing? This trip had high temperatures in, I don't know, maybe only the mid-70s, but I can tell you right now that this has been exposed to the sun, and that is uncomfortably hot. Like, you wouldn't want to keep your hands on there if you were like gonna sit on it in a pair of shorts. You wouldn't want to do that. It's too hot. So it's it's definitely, it might only be in the 70s out here now, but that cooler is definitely receiving a lot of sun. And the inside here, we can see that even after 4 complete days, it is still registering as, what is that, like 2, 4, 36 or 37? And that's on this upper bit here. Like if this thing was laying down here like some of this stuff is, even these are getting soft. I mean, it would be freezing, I'm sure, or close to it. I guess this water doesn't have any ice in it. So it's great. And what I have to thank for it are these guys right here, these cooler shocks, premium ice packs. I love having these. It says 24 to 48 hours, but again, this is day 4. There's still some hard parts in here, so it's still partially frozen. 5 days I think is the max. Now I do have 1, 2 on the bottom, and then it's surrounded. Why are you even in there? 2 on the bottom, 2, 2, and 2. So there are 8 of them in there. Oh, look at that temperature rising. So there are 8 of them in there, which is, you buy them in packs of 4. So I guess it's 2 packs. But like I said, I mean, it does absolutely fantastic for 4 days. I think this cooler would make, quite frankly, anybody happy. with its performance. I did see there was somebody who made who was complaining that the Arctic coolers were warping in the heat, meaning that this top, they could tell, and they put like a straight edge, they put a leveler across it, and sure enough, you know, the top had bowed out a little bit, and they were saying like how terrible it was, blah blah blah, and then, you know, how can you think it's still going to be sealed up tight? But I don't think that's valid, because if the top of that cooler right now, like I said, it's hot enough to be almost too hot to touch. It's very uncomfortable to keep your hands on there. Meanwhile, the inside, so that's expanding. Meanwhile, the inside is at 35 degrees. It's contracting, and in between the two, you have a layer of insulation so that temperature never equalizes. It's science, folks. So it's going to bow out a little bit. It doesn't matter what it's made out of, it's going to happen. As long as you have insulation in between those two surfaces, one expanding and one contracting, it's going to bow out a little bit. So does that somehow impact the seal? It can't impact it in any meaningful way. It's still like 35 degrees in there. So I think that's I think that observation of it bowing out a little bit, and this sure seems flat to me, so I don't think that's valid criticism. I think these Arctics are performing awesome, and you know, I'm very happy with mine after a year of using it in all kinds of different conditions. And I guess that's really all I have to say, unless something, you know, really weird happens, like it just falls apart next year or something. But it's in great shape. It hasn't been treated gently, and yeah, get 2 thumbs up for me.